Hello, my fellow hirelings of House Telvanni. I'm Neloth, and The Elder Scrolls Castles is an Elder Scrolls mobile game that was officially released recently, and it is basically just Fallout Shelter from 9 years ago, but not as good. Now, I had known about this game for probably a year now. I remember Imperial Knowledge made a community post about it a long time ago, and then the YouTuber Azura made a video where she played the game literally 5 months before its release. And then I discovered this horrifying monstrosity of an image that is supposed to depict my namesake, Master Neloth, in the game. So, needlessly to say, this game has been on my radar for a little bit now. And now that it's released, I can officially say that it is a game that exists. So let's talk about it. Now, the game's intro is probably one of the strangest ones I've ever seen, and it becomes quite apparent that there's absolutely no logic put into this game, but let me explain. The game starts by introducing us to Odar the Brave, a king that slaughtered a bunch of ogres and was made ruler of a small kingdom by the Emperor. Which Emperor? Fuck if I know. But King Odar grew bored, and also cheated on his wife Isabel with a Khajiit named Alasi. And then, Odar is just assassinated by some Argonian assassin, which allows us to select the heir to the throne. First option is Jafar, the son of King Odar, which naturally makes a lot of sense. The son succeeds the father. Second is Queen Isabel, the wife of King Odar, which, okay, maybe Jafar isn't old enough or is mentally unstable. After all, one of Jafar's traits is being volatile. Third is Rahim al-Alenhir, who I think is the nephew and pupil of King Odar, but I'm not really sure how he would even fit into the succession, but okay. And fourth is Alasi, that random Khajiit that was banging King Odar on the side. I have absolutely no clue why she would even be considered a contender for the throne. She's not even a noble like Rahim, she's just a commoner, that's literally in her title, but fucking whatever, I guess. Personally, I opted to go for Rahim, as he has a trait called Leader, which I thought would work well since he is being, a leader, and I also just really like Red Guards. And I was glad I made that decision because Rahim is married to a Dark Elf named Davila Beleth, and they have both a Red Guard daughter and a Dark Elf son, so it is my hope that I could have a whole Dark Elf dynasty someday. But that might prove to be quite difficult because of a gameplay mechanic that I'll talk about in a minute. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't understand why the hell they even created a story around this game to begin with, because the plot is basically just dropped and never explored again. You will also never figure out who truly murdered King Odar, so the one plot that was written into the game is just forgotten. And all the characters like Alasi, Isabel, and Jafar just become static characters that behave similar to everyone else, becoming servants that just operate your resource stations and occasionally ask things of you and give you gifts if they're happy enough. I don't understand why they didn't go the route of Fallout Shelter and just not have a story at all except in its little conquest system, and allow us to make our own ruler or allow us to select from 10 different people that are each of one of the different races in the Elder Scrolls. Allowing us to truly make our own dynasty like the game advertises. Now, you may have noticed that I mentioned Fallout Shelter, which was a mobile game that came out around the same time as Fallout 4, and was seen universally as a pretty decent mobile game with unique gameplay and having the iconic art style of Vault-Tec. And it's very clear that The Elder Scrolls Castles is just a clone of Fallout Shelter, but it does try to do its own thing. The problem is that everything the game does differently kinda sucks. The biggest issue for me is how time passes in the game and how characters age. For every day that passes in our world, a year passes in the game. This might sound cool on paper, but this means for a kid to go from being an infant to an adult that can actually work and be useful, you have to wait 18 whole Boethia damned days. This means if I want to start my Dark Elf dynasty in the game, I will have to wait like 2 fucking months for Raheem to die, or purposefully get him killed in the conquest section of the game so that his son, the Dark Elf, can actually rise to the throne. This leads to another problem too, as there doesn't seem to be any risk. Unlike Fallout Shelter, where you can have a radroach infestation or raiders attack your vault, in the Elder Scrolls castles, I don't believe your castle can ever get attacked. Period. Although I think I remember my kitchen caught on fire, but that's really the extent of the quote-unquote danger. So, unless you deliberately put your ruler in danger, nothing will happen to them. Of course, maybe people would rebel against your king if enough people hate him, but that's kind of impossible unless you deliberately make that happen because the game is extremely easy. Like, you could have a radiation-addled, skooma-drinking orcish infant play this game and probably be globally ranked because it's just that easy. This makes game progression really, really slow, which might be fine for some people since it's a mobile game to just hop into the game once every week or so, but judging from the daily and royal challenges, I don't think the game is technically supposed to be played that way. At least if you want all of the rewards. Now, another thing I don't like about this game is how it doesn't feel like an Elder Scrolls game at all. From its art style to how the races all just look the exact same with no discernible features, excluding the beast races, to there being a literal dragon egg. If you changed nothing about this game other than its title, I genuinely believe nobody could tell that this is actually an Elder Scrolls game. And when they added recognizable characters from the mainstream Elder Scrolls games into castles, they have done so in the most lazy way possible. I already showed you Neloth here, but it gets even worse. Here is Ulfric's Stormcloak. Now here is Ulfric's Stormcloak in castles. Here's Gunmar. Now here's Gunmar in castles. And here's the famous Lydia. Now, here's Lydia in castles. And this is also Lydia in castles when you take the armor off. Do you see the similarities? Because I sure don't! Now, I cannot stress enough how lazy and embarrassing this is. I mean, let's take a look at Fallout Shelter. Here is Piper Wright. Now, here is Piper Wright in Fallout Shelter. Here's the infamous Three Dog. Now here's Three Dog in Fallout Shelter. And here's the fan favorite Preston Garvey. Now here's Preston Garvey in Fallout Shelter. You see what I mean? You can tell that the developers took their time and care to make the unique dwellers similar, if not exactly like their actual counterparts. Now, am I biased because they twinkified my online personality? Yeah. But I hope you can see my point at this game just being super lazy and only existing just to give gold septums to Todd Howard and fill his infinite void called his wallet. Oh, and speaking of wallets, this game also has a battle pass called the Emperor's Pass because, you know, modern gaming. And costs either $5 a week or $14 a month! Holy shit! That is, without a doubt, the most shameful pricing I have ever seen in a game, at least in recent timing. And it's an Azura-damned mobile game. Most AAA or quadruple A games usually have a $10 battle pass that you pay until the next season comes around. So why in Talos is this shit more expensive than in those games? Also, why the fuck do you need a battle pass? Fallout Shelter did not have one either, so what the hell? And the rewards in the battle pass are pretty shit. Aside from maybe getting Talos, but why the fuck do I care whenever I could just get an Imperial, rename him Talos, and call it a fucking day? Now, I don't really have a good segue into this section because it's not as bad or shocking as the fucking Battle Pass bullshit, but one of the stranger and admittedly more funny things in this game is how making children works. because you are able to have 2 men or 2 women impregnate each other and have a child. And it gets pretty funny because this means you can have 2 men like Ulfric Stormcloak and some Argonian make a baby together. Now, to be clear, I don't have a problem with having gay marriages and relationships in the game, just look at how Skyrim marriages work. But when I can't tell if this was intentional or just a lazy oversight, you can see how it contributes to the game feeling more and more unpolished. But this game doesn't seem to take itself seriously or be lore accurate in any way, so I'm not really going to be taking it seriously either. Now, to be fair, the game isn't all bad. The combat system is serviceable for a mobile game. Each character has their own family tree with lovers, enemies, parents, and children, which is kinda cool. The ability for characters to get married is also a nice touch, and different rulings your ruler can decree having consequences is fun at first, until you start to memorize all of them because there aren't that many. But again, everything else that Elder Scrolls Castles does has been done by Fallout Shelter and is honestly better. Hell, I don't even play mobile games anymore, but in preparation for the Elder Scrolls Castles, I admittedly played a bit of Fallout Shelter, and I'm kinda getting back into the game after 7 years, and I'm playing it far more than I am Elder Scrolls Castles. Only opening up the game to make the script for this video. So, The Elder Scrolls Castles is truly one of the games of all time, and one of the mobile games of all time, and is just a lazy Fallout Shelter clone that exists to be another revenue source for Todd Howard in order to make sure his wallet has 16 times the cash. And so that its battle pass is 16 times more expensive than any other battle pass. And that's all I wrote. A video where I talk about the Elder Scrolls mobile game that came out recently, so be sure to comment down below if you even bothered to play this game. Or don't, I don't really care. But I do care about my channel members Mirak, Sovdark, Conarunda, Nork, Will Ernst, Ranger McKay, Milani Stilla, The Proud Prince, Deadpool Maoista, Dilo, Boris Basinski, and Jay Jinsid. And if you would like to see my videos earlier by either 24 hours or even 3 days, then consider becoming a member. All members get early access, and Oathman and Mouths will get shoutouts at the beginning or end of almost every video. So with all that being said, make sure to like the like button, like the subscribe button, and like the bell notification down below to be updated on future videos. And I will see you whenever the fuck I decide to upload again. House Telvanni be with you.
Please, O hero of Skyrim, I shall be ever so grateful.